It's a very flawed agreement, riven with contradictions, because it states at the same time that there should be power to the civilians and a democratic government, but it gave too much power to the military. But at the time of its conclusion, everybody thought that it was the best possible agreement if it be a first step towards moving towards a more accountable civilian rule. But at the moment, I think it's going in the other direction. The power of the military, and especially the militias, are being enhanced. The influence of foreign dictatorships like the Emirates, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia is increasing, and the level of hostility between civilian powers is rising, which will mean more military intervention. At the moment, there are at least 3 or 4 movements from Darfur. There are one movement in Blue Nile, one movement in the Nuba Mountains. These are the main groups. These are the still rebels holding out. As it happens, today there is a meeting discussing that. This is one attempt, but I think it's very complicated because a lot of them disagree with each other. All of them make impossible demands, and the government at the moment is not in a position to either reach a good agreement with them or also have the finance necessary for such agreement, because any agreement will need a lot of funding to be implemented, and the negotiators at the moment and the countries which are sponsoring it, like Ethiopia, don't have any funds, or the South Sudan. I think the international community has a lot of goodwill towards the new civilian government, and usually the international community welcomes any solution, even if it's a plaster. As long as they don't see the wound bleeding, they'll be happy. But I think they are also cautiously optimistic about the outcomes if things went as agreed. So at the moment there's goodwill, but not enough support, because, for example, Sudan needs urgently to be lifted of the countries supporting terrorism, because that's necessary for any development in going forward. Even if nobody gives it any money, that would lift a lot of burden of the Sudanese. As for the Gulf countries, Sudan is still falling in the conflict between them, and it cannot afford to alienate any. And at the moment, the US and other strong powers are not putting enough pressure on countries which are getting themselves involved in Sudan and using, for example, Sudanese soldiers to fight in Libya and things like this, to stop doing that, because it harms the region and harms Sudan.
Okay.